Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Real View. It's been a while. Real Views with real people, where we talk film, TV, and music. In this episode, we are looking at Fantastic Four: First Steps. My name is Miles, that's Miles with a Y, and you can follow me across all social media platforms at Miles Reviews. Please remember to do all that good stuff. Share, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button to stay up to date with all videos and content that I'm making. As always, there are time codes in the description, so skip ahead, skip forward, rewind selector, and time travel through this episode at your will. We work on a 3-tier rating system from top to bottom, tap it straight to my veins. This sandwich is filling but not satisfying, and that's not it. So how are you guys doing? It's been a little while, right? I'm sorry I haven't been putting out much content at the moment. It's really busy summer in terms of music, all the functions and gigs are popping off. But how are you guys doing? Are you good out there? You having a good time? What movies and music and stuff are you listening to, watching? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be interested to hear from you. Yeah, so like I said, we are looking at Fantastic Four: First Steps. Been out for a while now. One of the big superhero movies of the summer. And here is your cast call. So you got Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Ebon Moss-Bachrach, Joseph Quinn, Ralph Ines, Julia Garner, Natasha Lyonne, Paul Walter Hauser, and Sarah Niles, to name a few. Okay, so let's get into my thoughts right now. Fantastic Four. Let's talk about it. It's really early in the morning. I don't know what I'm trying to sing. Is singing now my thing? Is that like an intro? That obviously is my thing, but is it becoming the intro to these reviews? Well, so far as I'm gonna get to a movie where I'll either forget or I don't know what to sing. Also, why didn't I get a call for that choir? I would have been great in that. I would have really fattened it up. That's what was missing. My voice. Just saying. Anyway, the Fantastic Four: First Steps. Yeah, let's talk about it. Okay, so what's this all about then, Governor? Having thwarted many threats to the planet and their home, the Fantastic Four must face 2 new challenges. Reed, Pedro Pascal, and Sue, Vanessa Kirby, are expecting their first child, and along with Johnny, Joseph Quinn, and Ben, Ebon Moss-Bachrach, they must protect Earth from a planet-eating entity known as Galactus. Ralph Ineson. Directed by Matt Shakman, written by Josh Friedman, Eric Pearson, Jeff Kaplan, Catwood et al., based on the comics and characters created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. I don't know why I paused on the Stan there. Sorry, that's a bit weird. Stan Lee. Anyway, I like this movie. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Obviously, I'm a Marvel fan, not fanboy, but I've enjoyed a vast majority of the Marvel movies to varying degrees, and this is one of the better Marvel movies. I would say the first in their new phase, I think, of movies that they're doing. I can't remember what phase it is, what the phase is called, what number it is, and I don't care. I'm just here watching movies, you know what I mean? But this is quite enjoyable. I would say overall, I did want a bit more, not necessarily a bit more action, but just a bit more zaniness, out there stuff, and you get a fair bit of that. But what they spend a lot of time doing is sort of building, or at least establishing, this family and this family dynamic. And for the most part, I feel they got that right. It didn't feel like, once I settled into it, it didn't feel forced. They did feel like they had good chemistry. I would say a lot of it is focused on Sue and Reed, particularly in the family dynamic, especially as they're expecting a baby. And because of that, I feel like you didn't get as much time with Ben, the Thing, and Johnny, the Human Torch, as, you didn't get to see them as much in terms of, the family bond. You know what I mean? They had their things, they had their bits. But, classically for me, Johnny and Ben would always, be sort of roughhousing or, arguing amongst each other. But there was still, that love there. But, they kind of had that very, sibling, brotherly rivalry thing. And you get to see that play out a little bit, but because I feel of the focus on Sue and read, you don't see it as much as you could do. Maybe you will in subsequent movies. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, aside from that, I feel like it was a good time. It was it was. I was in a better place, like, personally, mentally, seeing this movie, which makes me feel like I gotta watch Superman again. In fact, I want to watch Superman again. I don't know if I will get to, but I'm sure it'll be out for a while anyway. But that being said, yeah, it's a decent movie, man. I kind of like wanted The Incredibles really and truly. Like having that sort of 60s futuristic aesthetic really helps with that. But like I say, more importantly, you really got to nail that family dynamic, and I feel they got there. Or maybe they got there in the end. It worked. And what else can I say? Without spoiling, the performances were really good. Like Kirby, Pascal, Quinn, and Moss-Bachrach really did a great job, like I say, of helping you believe this family unit, and I guess just grounding it. Because obviously, again, these fantastic out there characters with out there powers, they just did a really good job of grounding it. Pedro Pascal's Mr. Fantastic was really obviously like a genius, but he's not necessarily an emotional genius, if you know what I mean, but also he's just got this sort of overwhelming sort of anxiety of he's a planner. He feels very much it's his responsibility to solve and work things out, and he's very much very proactive in trying to solve any problems. So even problems that haven't presented themselves, he is trying to figure out a solution to them. You know what I mean? He's always trying to get ahead of it. Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman or Invisible Girl in this, I don't know. She was very much the emotional core of, the four. Johnny was... What I liked with this iteration of Johnny Storm, played by Joseph Quinn, was that he was, although like he kind of had that hot-headedness, as were his powers, he wasn't just a dumb jock kind of guy, like there was a bit of that impulsiveness and, just I guess boyish charm in there, but it wasn't to the point of where this guy's an idiot, like they are constantly just having to clean up after this guy or like direct this guy, instruct this guy. No, he had his own thing going on, and like I'll get more into it in spoilers, but he kind of like, he's not a genius, but like he can work stuff out and not be so much of that kind of burden to the family, if you know what I mean. Ben Grimm, played by Ebon Moss-Bachrach, also had his own thing going on. Very much loved in this world, but obviously still being like this huge rock guy that he is. I mean, he's clearly taken it in his stride, but like obviously his life isn't in any way, well, none of that's normal, but his life is much more so like, he gets treated differently by a lot of people, not necessarily in a negative way, but it can be negative, like, that kind of, because they're basically like, not only are superheroes, not only are they a family, they're celebrities, and his celebrity is very much wrapped up in the character of the thing, but he is just a normal guy as well inside. So yeah, the way he portrayed that with kind of like this sort of kindness and grace, but also you could see how that might weigh a person down, or they might long for some other bits of normality, was interesting to see, and I'd like to see that. You didn't get to see a lot of it, but the beginnings of it are there, and I think should you see that in the future movies, that will work really well. They could really expand on that quite easily. So yeah, that was good, and yeah, I've talked a lot now in spoilers. I think in non-spoilers, anything I want to say for a movie. I like the design. I like the look of everything. They really leaned into that 60s futuristic aesthetic, but it still also had some grounding in real, like some of it had some grounding in realness. Love the robot Herbie. I just thought a great design and just a great look. Voiced by Matthew Wood, whoever that is, but yeah, he did a great job. And I just like the kind of mechanic of it, the way the face was basically like a program in a cassette tape form. Again, leaning into that retro 60s aesthetic. Yeah, it's really cool. What else can I say about spoiler? You know what? Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. It was a good movie. On a second watch, would I like it as much? Probably so. I think there's probably some stuff I might have like kind of missed or whatever. I like to watch those deep dives by like, you know, Screen Crush and Heavy Spoilers and New Rock Stars on YouTube about, you know, Easter eggs and stuff like that. When I have time or if I'm interested enough. But yeah, overall this movie's a good time. I feel I really liked it. Like I say, they've got the family dynamic right. For me, the family is the core of the movie, really. And if you get that right, yeah, there's more stuff you can do. Definitely that I would have appreciated seeing. But overall, they got that right, and yeah, that's the most important bit for me. So they're really enjoyable. Tap it straight to my veins. Alright, let's get into spoilers. Okay, so, well, this isn't really a spoiler, but it felt really like the movie felt contained, which I liked. It wasn't too heavy on the future baiting, you know. Sometimes it feels like the movie is there purely to just set up the next movies, and I didn't feel that with this. So, again, one on Marvel, if you keep doing that, it's like when Marvel doing something different, and they lean into that and just let it be that. That's when they get it right. I feel like this is where Captain America, Anthony Mackie, Falcon, Birdman, that's where it got let down, really. I know I had a bunch of rewrites and that kind of stuff, but I feel like it wasn't allowed to be its own thing properly. Almost as if they added all this other stuff from other characters / movies because they didn't fully have the confidence. And a movie led by Anthony Mackie taking up the mantle would work. And yeah, I'm a bit annoyed about that, to be honest. I kind of feel like give him another movie where it's purely just that, because I know, you know, I don't know. It's still come on, because they got their own series, and the series is alright, and deals with a bit more stuff that they tried to bring up again in a movie, but they didn't really lean into it. I hear in a comic book run that you know, Falcon as Captain America isn't necessarily well received, so you know, he faces a lot of like sort of discrimination and people being mad that he isn't Steve Rogers, basically. And that would be interesting. I know in this current climate, you know, that could be a bit on the nose, but hey, you know, like movies are doing that, and they're doing well from it. Like look at Superman, for instance. And I just feel like if you're gonna address these things, or like try and talk about these things or whatever, like just do it at your chest, you know what I mean? So anyway, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, we're talking about Fantastic Four first steps. But yeah, like I say, it felt very contained. It was good. I was very pleased with Herbie, the robot's inclusion. You know, I liked, like I say, I liked the cassette tape programming and all that stuff. That was cool. I wonder like what other cassette tapes are, like what other programming he has. Like, is there a battle mode Herbie, and what does that look like? You know, does he transform into like a big sort of mech suit kind of thing? Is there a nanny bot cassette tape where he takes care of Franklin and all that kind of thing, you know? And speaking of the baby, yeah, it was good. Sorry, I did sort of just edit that so you wouldn't know, but basically my 3-year-old just woke up, speaking of babies, and I just shoved him in bed with his mum, really, so I could get on with this. But I'll look up to him in a minute. What was I saying? Yeah, so the baby was played for the most part by Ada Scott. I think they had a couple babies to play Franklin Richards, but for the most part it was played by Ada Scott. And I thought, you know, as far as babies go, did pretty well. Obviously, it had that whole thing of when the baby was born, it wasn't covered in goop or fluid or whatever. You know, it's very much a movie baby. You know, it wasn't the birth wasn't realistic to me. There were parts of it that were, but it wasn't. You know, what can I say? But it didn't take me out of it too much, so I didn't really mind. There were some scenes, obviously, where the baby was CGI, or at least green screen or blue screen, doing whatever it was, however they did it. Yeah, it didn't look great, but again, as a dad, I'm all for manufacturing a scene so that a baby isn't in real life danger or any kind of threat. So, that's fine by me, I guess. But again, it did take me out a little bit. I just could have looked a bit smoother. But hey, I mean, you see my posters. If I was to do it, boy, it would look a lot weirder and worse. So there it is. But yeah, I like the baby Franklin stuff. The fact that he had this kind of cosmic superpower. But no one really knows what it is or how it works. I liked that, obviously he saved his mum at the end. He uses a cosmic power to bring her back to life somehow. I knew she wasn't going to die, so, it wasn't jarring to me anyway. And the whole thing with Galactus on Galactus, I didn't realise, he was a thing or being before he was Galactus, All I know of him is really from the old cartoons. Although I would have loved to, I never really read any old Fantastic Four comics and stuff like that. So yeah, all I've known from him is from them old cartoons. And I'm an 80s baby, like a late 80s baby. So I'm really raised in a 90s baby, you know what I mean? So a lot of the stuff I watched and consumed was in the 90s as a child. And there used to be this thing, children, hear me out, there used to be this thing which was huge for us, right, as kids, called Saturday morning TV. And basically what it was is most channels would, in order to, because what most channels realised, this was before, internet was a huge thing, and YouTube and all that, YouTube Kids, and streaming services, before streaming services. Sounds so old right now. But what networks would do in order to get the most ratings in that period of the morning where a lot of kids are up first, is they would have programming and advertising purely aimed at children, various ages. I feel like your BBC was more like kind of younger, but also had some older stuff as well. And then CITV, Channel 4, they just sort of whatever. So basically I say all that to say that CBBC, from what I remember, they played the Marvel. It's like a Marvel animated hour. I don't know. I can't remember what it's called. But Stan Lee would introduce some of it, or at least a recording of him would. And yeah, one of the cartoons, I think he had Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk. But one of the animated series that he had was Fantastic Four, and I would watch every episode and the repeats, and I couldn't remember all of them right now, but I love those shows, you know what I mean? And what I learned of Galactus, I think, was probably from them, and that's why, for me, this movie had to be right, I guess. Not that I wanted it like the animated shows, but it just had to get that family dynamic. I had to believe their family, and I did. So yeah, I can't remember what I was saying before. I was talking about the baby, wasn't I? I was talking about baby Franklin, and yeah, I liked the storyline of Galactus wanting, although for me it kind of changed the character of Galactus, or Galactus as I knew him. That the storyline of him wanting to take the baby to base, because the baby has cosmic powers to swap and take his place basically, because it's a burden being Galactus, which I found interesting. So yeah, I like that as well. It made you made you care about, obviously yes, they got to save the world, but it's got to save the baby. There's that line of that Sue Storm said, of course I want to save the world, but I will not sacrifice my son for this world, but equally I will not sacrifice this world. I can't remember what she said now, but it was delivered great, So Go watch the movie, I guess. So I like that, and that was cool. I can't remember what I was talking about now. I really went off on a tangent on the Saturday morning TV thing there. What else? Okay, so Johnny Storm. Now, in the trailers, obviously, so talking about Joseph Quinn here. My first introduction to him was Stranger Things. Probably a lot of you. And obviously in that he played an American. And I thought, oh yeah, this is a cool character. And really good actor. And then, what's that movie called? A Quiet Place Day One or something? Can't remember. Anyway, the one with Lupita Nyong'o. Yeah, so obviously now he's British, and then I find out, he's actually British. Well, actually, I found out after Stranger Things that he's actually British. I was like, wow. Now, the thing with British actors doing American accents, when you know, well, for me anyway, when you know they're British and you identify them with British, it's a bit hard to, like, even when they're doing the accent well, another accent well, it's a bit hard to hear past that, right? So, and that's what I kind of found with Joseph Quinn in the trailer. And also they was blonde, you know what I mean? It's like, there's a lot of changes going on here. But, so I don't know if it was for that reason, but I wasn't really buying him as Johnny Storm in the trailer. Not that he wasn't a great actor, but just for some reason in the trailer I wasn't really buying it. But, yeah, as soon as this movie got going, I was like, yeah, this is totally fine. There's not a problem. Absolutely great. So, yeah, just wanted to say, Joseph Quinn, good job. Right, okay, a bit of a geeky moment. Double Natasha Lyonne. Natasha Lyonne, famous from various shows like, what's she in at the moment? Is it Poker Face? And Russian Doll. Probably more notably Orange is the New Black. But she's also been in Marvel, basically. She was in What If Season 3. Was it Season 3? Yeah, Season 3 as Birdie, the offspring of Howard the Duck and Darcy. Is that her name in this? Anyway, yeah, I don't know how many people watched What If, but yeah, you know, double Natasha Lyonne. So there you go. She's now another character in this. She played Rachel Wasman. Yeah, I guess if we get Double Downey with him returning as Doom, I believe that was him in the post credits. Although we didn't get a look at the face. I believe, you know, that was a little teaser. What did everyone think of that post-credit, by the way? Was that exciting? For me, it was, yeah. It would have been better. It would have been better if you didn't know Robert Downey was coming back as Doom. Definitely. That was their big surprise. I know they wanted to, like, claw back all the fans with that return. But, imagine if they kept that a secret, and when Doomsday rolled around, they just dropped that, and you're like, what? Mind absolutely blown. But no, they dropped the bag on that one. Anyway, yeah, so Natasha Lyonne is back in this as Rachel Wilson. And I was going to say, like, justice for Alicia, you know? How dare Ben have another love interest apart from Alicia? But to be fair, we need to stop just giving men like Beast and The Thing love interests who are blind, you know? Like, that's the only way they could ever get a partner, because they're so horribly horrendous looking that, yeah, only blind people could love them. So, you know, it's. I mean, I hope that Ben finds Alicia eventually in this, but that was an interesting little change there. The plan to move Earth to another solar system was wild to me. You could see that Mr. Fantastic was very desperate there. It reminded me of, I don't know if you've ever seen that SpongeBob episode where they decide to, well, I think it's the one with the American bullworm or whatever, basically that's tearing through the town and eating stuff. But I think, yeah, basically they decide to go with Patrick's plan of moving Bikini Bottom, only to have it end up being crushed at the new location in the end anyway. Very funny. But yeah, it was just like, wow, you're gonna move the whole Earth to another solar system. Like, how, I know, like, he's a genius and it's also comic book nonsense anyway, but how would that work? You know, like, how can you guarantee that solar system would work? It did make me think maybe that's how this Fantastic Four because obviously at the end of Thunderbolts, spoilers for Thunderbolts, in the post-credits, you see the Fantastic Four rocket ship basically coming through into their whatever number, dimension, multiverse that, the main line Marvel's supposed to be in. I'm going to say 616 or whatever, they're just numbers, who cares? Whatever multiverse universe they're in, you see the ship travelling into that universe, and with stuff like that, you're kind of like in the back of your mind thinking, oh, how's that going to work? But they, basically that doesn't really come through in this movie at least. To move the whole universe into another solar system, the whole world, planet into another solar system was wild to me. But yeah, obviously really desperate. He really didn't want to give up that baby, and he had no other ideas. So yeah, again, smooth allusion to Doctor Doom. There were a couple of teasers there. You had the Latveria seat empty at the summit when it came to what to do about Galactus kind of thing at the Future Foundation UN summit, whatever it was. And then obviously you had him at the end. You see his hood and the baby touching his face. So to me it says at least that this version of Doctor Doom isn't going to be horribly scarred. Or maybe he is. Maybe the baby just touching up a horribly scarred face at the end, who knows, in the post-credits. Shout out to Sarah Niles, man. She plays Lynn in this. She's basically like Sue's right hand at the Future Foundation. And I will say, she, as an actress, she is having a time right now. And I'm here for it. I know she was in Ted Lasso for a while, but most recently as well, she was in F1 the movie, playing Damson Idris's character's mum. And she was great in that. But and one of the reasons I'm really happy for her is because it's sad to say, but when you're a black British actor past a certain age, especially as a woman, the roles aren't necessarily flying in. You know what I mean? But long may it continue. It seems like she's kind of having a real sort of hopefully that she's beginning to have a kind of, who's that actor, Octavia Spencer type moment. Where people are realising how good she is and she's getting more work and stuff like that. I know they're not necessarily huge roles, but in my mind, like I say, for a black British woman, that is big, man. Well, someone who's not necessarily a big name to everyone, I think that's quite big. So I'm pleased for her, man. I hope it continues. And yeah, she was good in this. She was really good in this as well. Yeah, I liked that they kind of just it wasn't an origin story. They touched on it for the uninitiated. It gave you enough that you would understand. Didn't really matter that much anyway, for this movie, I feel. And some of the past villains as well that they ran through. I was a bit... it's a bit of a shame that John Malkovich didn't get to show up as Red Ghost. I feel like they could have still included it, even if it was just an opening scene, in The Incredibles Part 2. Incredibles 2, should I say, where at the end of the first Incredibles movie, at the very end, the Underminer comes out of the ground and they have to face off against him, but you don't actually see the fight. But in the next movie, it opens with that. I feel like they could have opened with them battling against the Red Ghost or whatever, straight into the action, and then just carry on like that. I can't remember how this opened. Did it open? It's all... oh, man. I can't really remember the opening of this, I remember stuff happening. I just can't remember if it opened with, sort of a media montage of the Fantastic Four. I feel like it did, but I'm not sure. Anyway. But yeah, I feel like it could have opened up with that battle, and then you could have gone into maybe a media montage after that, and that would have been cool. Just saying, me personally. It was straight into the action, and then you get a little background, and then you just carry on. Anyway, but it is what it is. Oh, no, I think it opened with Reed and Sue finding out they're pregnant. Which words, I guess. I liked seeing Mark Gatiss as Ted Gilbert. Played a great, 60s type TV host. What else? Oh, yeah, Silver Surfer. I loved, I think, Julia Garner's performance as Shada Bao. Silver Surfer was great. If any of the anti-woke mob are still angry that Silver Surfer was a woman, sharp. It really, really didn't matter. And obviously it's a different universe anyway. So there's still a chance for you to see your naked Silver Man if you really want to. But yeah, I thought this was a great vision of the Silver Surfer. Really threatening and otherworldly at points, but also just as with Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, it was very much like you could see the threat as the movie went on, and yeah, as the movie went on, you kind of saw that humanity and the burden of them being heralds, the burden of basically being part of the cause of all this death, just the regret, and heroism in the end. So yeah, that was really cool to see, and I just thought it was a really good performance by Judy Garner. It's one that, as with previously in like I say, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, I'm slightly what's the word? Stalling here so I can find the name of who played the Silver Surfer in that. I think it's Doug Wood. No, I feel like I'm making it up. I'll find his name in a sec. But yeah, as I'm finding his name, yeah, I just feel like the whole sort of internal battle, I guess, the conflict of being this this otherworldly herald, and what you're part of causing, the genocide, the destruction of worlds that you're causing, was handled really well and performed really well. Like, I really believed both issues. Oh snap! I didn't know Lawrence Fishburne voiced the Silver Surfer in Fantastic Four. So Doug Jones was responsible for the physical performance, and Lawrence Fishburne did the voice. Good pairing, very good pairing. I wonder if they worked together. I wonder if Lawrence Fishburne was sitting on Doug Jones' shoulders doing the voice. I know, don't worry about that. That's very stupid. Sorry. Yeah, but yeah, like I say, that I just feel that character was done really well. I would have liked to see a bit more of them. Yeah, what they did do worked. And it works really well. So I was a fan of that. And anything else I've got to say about this movie? Oh snap, on IMDb. And they made all the, the stuff. Like, usually IMDb is branded like yellow. But they've made it all blue here. Have fun. Sorry. So Fantastic Four, I don't think I've got anything else to say about it. I probably do, but not right now. Yeah, I liked it. I liked the characters. I liked the world. And I liked that it was for the most part, self-contained. And I'm interested to see how it all folds into the multiverse mess that they're doing at the moment. Are we done with the multiverse? Are you bored? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm done with it. I would say that as long as they have a story that works and is entertaining, then fine. But for everything that doesn't, it just exasperates me and makes us feel like just sack it off. But anyway, yes. So I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a good one. On Marvel back, possibly. I thought Thunderbolts was good as well. That's two for two for so far. I did like Captain America when I first saw it. On a second watch, not as interesting. But yeah, I mean, movies are movies, isn't it? You gotta take it one movie at a time. As long as Marvel lean into when they're doing something different, or just lean into whatever they're presenting us, then it should be alright, I reckon. And when they get it wrong, I feel like don't just tar everyone with the same brush. Remember, everyone's got their own stories to tell and all that kind of thing. So blah 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 blah. Yeah, just watch one movie at a time and enjoy yourselves, I think. Anyway, the Fantastic Four: First Steps, decent film, tapped straight to my veins. Looking forward to see what else they're going to do with these characters. And just to end off, I will say, yeah, I had a lot more to say on Fantastic Four than I did Superman, but like I say, I think mentally I'm just in a better place watching this movie. And Superman I think it's a great movie and definitely worth seeing, but I feel like the hope in it kind of helps me a little bit get to a better place. But also, I do need to watch that again. But yeah, both great films. Yes, so those were my thoughts on Fantastic Four First Steps. Have you seen it, or are you looking to see it? If you've seen it, what did you think? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comments below. I'd be interested to know your thoughts. And of course, you've been listening to me, Miles. That's Miles with a Y, and you can catch me at Miles Reviews across all social media platforms. And please remember to share, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button to stay up to date with all videos and content I'm making. So yeah, I hope you guys are well out there. I hope you're having a good time enjoying the film, the TV, the music, but most importantly, life. Okay, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. God bless and all the rest. See you later.